When people without disability, non-disabled people, meet people with disability, facial differences, skin conditions, they kind of forget all niceties. They forget how to be a person or a good person. And so often when I meet someone, before even saying hello, they will launch into, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Oh my God, you've been sunburnt. Oh, I couldn't handle looking like you. What happened to you? Have you had microdermabrasion? All these sorts of things.
From Mamma Mia, I'm Mia Friedman, and you're listening to No Filter, candid conversations that count. If people stop you on the street, what's the first thing that they say to you? It's probably hello, right? Maybe followed by how are you? Because that's just manners. It's just polite. But author and journalist Carly Findlay is often not privy to that basic human level of politeness. Carly was born with a rare skin disorder. It's called Ichthyosis, and it affects approximately 1 in 200,000 newborn babies. Ichthyosis causes the skin to build up and scale and makes it extremely dry, among other problems. Most types of ichthyosis are present at birth and are lifelong. People are often curious about the way Carly looks, and they ask her, what happened to your skin? Have you had microdermabrasion? Are you really sunburnt? They often think that by asking they're being kind or open, but as she points out in her new memoir, Say Hello, curiosity is sometimes just another way of being plain rude. I've followed Carly's writing for years. I've watched her rise as an advocate and a spokesperson for the disability community, and I've always really admired her opinions. So I'm particularly thrilled that she joins me now on No Filter. Carly Findlay, welcome.
Hello, Mia. How are you?
Thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
Your dedication, before I got even past the dedication, I was really moved and really gripped because you dedicated it. This book is for everyone who has felt alone because of their ichthyosis, facial difference, chronic illness and disability. It's for little Carly too. It is time to be the person little Carly needed.
Yeah.
Tell me about little Carly.
Little Carly had really short hair, really patchy hair. So little Carly was often mistaken for a boy. And because I'd already received so many comments and stares about my appearance, I didn't want another thing to be different, you know. So little Carly just wanted long hair. Also, I was really shy in photos, and now, you know, when I'm really passionate about Instagram, and I'll ask my husband to take 37 photos of me on Instagram. You know, so little Carly wasn't confident in front of the camera.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Walla Walla, which is a tiny town, had about 500 people near Albury.
That's a very small town.
But then I also moved to another town when I was about 15, which has fewer people, 200. So.
Your parents are from South Africa?
No, my mum is from South Africa and my dad is from England. And they met in South Africa.
They met in South Africa.
Yeah.
And they emigrated here for reasons that some people will find absolutely outrageous.
Yeah. So my mum is a coloured South African. That's what she was classed in South Africa. And my dad is a white Englishman. And they couldn't get married because of the apartheid in South Africa in the 80s. Yeah.
And so they moved to Australia to be together, which is very romantic.
It is, isn't it? I don't see my parents as being romantic at all, but looking back, yeah, really romantic.
And they moved to Walla Walla.
Oh, they moved to Sydney first, I think, and they had to get married within a month or my mum would have been sent back.
What are some of your earliest memories of your childhood?
At kindy and school, it was really hard. But I had a really lovely childhood with my parents. I really, you know, they gave me everything, books and art and craft and food.
Are you
cooking.
an only child?
I am an only child. And I don't feel like I'm a spoilt only child, but, you know, they gave me their attention. I felt very grown up, you know, only talking to adults, really, for a long time. But at school, at preschool, it was really hard. And, you know, I thought, I expected a small town to be more nurturing. And often they are very nurturing, but they weren't for me. And I grew up in a really white bread Christian town. You know, for a long time my mum was the only black woman in town until some people from Papua New Guinea came to be exchange students at the university. And then we had some other people from South Africa, Mum reminded me of the other day. And yeah, but for, you know, 10 years probably, she would have been the only black woman in town. People used to talk about Mum like she's black in literal
in case you didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm red. And also the church, because disability and illness is seen just such a sin They would often accuse...
Really?
Yes. They would say that my parents have sinned because they were black and white, therefore I'm red, or I'm not baptised, therefore I'm red. That makes no sense. But that was the justification. And so Mum would try to get me into Sunday school, to get me into youth group, to get friends, not necessarily for religion. And then that was thrust upon me. So I made the decision, actually, I think when I told my mum that I was told that they sinned, she took me out of there because of that.
That's what they tried to get away from in South Africa.
It's horrible, isn't it? So I actually joke when I talk to people from my hometown, I said I wasn't very complimentary of the hometown in my book. Yeah.
That was your experience?
That was my experience. And even, like the experience of bullies just lives on. And yeah.
Were you bullied a lot at school?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, the teachers would ask, what can you do to change? How can you make this a better situation? Yeah.
Really? They would put that on you as a little kid?
And also, because I didn't know that I was disabled. I didn't know that I was different, and I just wanted to be like everyone else. I would never ask for reasonable adjustment beyond what, I don't know, like the basics. So it was so hot. Like at the moment in Albury-Wodonga, because, it's near Albury-Wodonga, it's 47 degrees, at the moment. So when I was growing up, it was constantly hot in the summer, but I couldn't do sport, which was great. So instead of putting me in the library, I'd have to sit outside and watch them do sport. I just wanted to go in the library and be cool, There'd be flies everywhere. I'd written about, how I'd wear a bee net to keep the flies out. But there was none of that kind of reasonable adjustment back then. And I didn't know how to ask for it.
How did your parents handle it?
They're very stoic, very get on with it. Very, we're going to treat you like everyone else, which is great, I guess, to an extent. But when you need reasonable adjustments, like not going camping, I think looking back, Mum and Dad regret taking me camping so many times because I didn't understand how my body would react to the heat and the flies and the outdoors, because I hate the outdoors, I hate the heat. But every Christmas we go camping.
Well, I also hate camping.
Yeah.
I want to just ask you about language for a second, because reasonable adjustment, that's so interesting in the way that that's different to special treatment, right? And one of the things I got so much out of reading your book was an understanding of how important words are.
Yeah.
The use of certain words, not using certain words. For example, you talk about how you like to refer to yourself as a disabled person, not a person with a disability.
Yeah.
Can you explain the distinction?
Yeah, sure. So if I describe myself as a person with disability, which is generally how the media, the government, workplaces talk about disability, and that's fine, it would mean that I would be carrying disability as an addition to my identity. And like I said, I don't carry it like a handbag. I can't put it down at the end of the day. It is with me. It is who I am. So disabled woman means that I am a disabled woman just as I am a writer, just as I am heterosexual, just as I'm multiracial.
And what about terms like special needs?
Oh, well, Stella Young used to say special, just another word for shit.
I miss her.
I miss
the
her
wonderful
too.
Stella Young.
And I reference Stella quite a lot in the book.
Yeah, you do. She was a good friend of yours.
Yeah, she was a friend of mine, and we worked together, through me writing for the ABC. Yeah, special needs, it really reduces disabled people because it shows that we are so othered. There's a great woman called Katia Malaquias, who you may know. She runs Starting with Julius, which is a foundation around advertising and inclusion and school inclusion. And she said, and I'm paraphrasing her, but she says it far more eloquently than I can, but she said, when a child goes to a special needs school on a special bus and then goes on to work in special education, in a special home, is that really special? Yeah, so she says, that special segregates. So don't use special needs. Don't use euphemisms for disability, because you're just softening it and you're just making it more stigmatised. Yeah.
So you grew up going to school. Did you have a lot of friends?
No. I probably got more friends from school now, keeping in touch on Facebook or whatever. But no, I can't. I had a few, but I also didn't know how to be a good friend, because if you don't have many friends, you don't know how to be a good friend. So I was probably really horrible to people, maybe two-faced or backstabbing or whatever, and I just didn't really have many good relationships. But I had, I used to stay with the family, the Milnes, before and after school at the pub. So I really had a good time there. They had lots of kids in their family, and I'm friends still with them now. And, there was a few others, but, and I've been talking with people. We still remember being bullied in that time. And I know that one young man who was a few years older than me, his sister was in my year, he recently took his life because of the bullying that happened when we were at school. Yeah.
Do you think things have improved?
I'd like to think so. When I talk to other people around their kids with ichthyosis, they get a school nurse or they get, disability assistance or whatever. But I guess because I never saw myself as disabled, I never knew what to ask for.
I found that the most aha moment reading your book where you said, I never thought of myself as disabled, and when I did, that's when I found my tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because like I wrote, at school there was that one girl with cerebral palsy, and that was it. And I didn't look like her. I didn't speak like her. Her family treated her very differently to my family, and so I didn't see myself like her. But when I did find disabled people, I found my tribe. Yeah, and that's really important for kids.
The internet changed everything for you, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. There was Savage Garden.
You're a massive, you're a Savage Garden tragic, Carly, aren't you?
I didn't say a tragic. I think I'm a fan. but also...
I'm a Taylor Swift tragic, so
that's fine.
I wear it with a badge of pride.
I wear my fangirling with a badge too.
You were very committed as a fan. You took a day off school one time to listen to one of their songs when it came out on the radio.
I did, and also I waited outside the Savage Gardens hotel. I said that my parents didn't treat me any differently. I had a friend there, Fiona, from high school, and we waited outside the hotel for, 8 hours or something. And my mum was there as well.
That's committed.
And the concierge felt really sorry for me, like, oh, she's suffering in the heat. And anyway, I never played on this, and he said, Carly can go up and meet Darren and Daniel, but Fiona can't. And Mum said, no, if Fiona can't go up, Carly can't go up. And so I didn't.
Oh, how's your relationship with your mother ever recovered from that?
Yeah, we're good. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I am. And the internet changed my life in that way because I got to escape, listening to them. But bigger than that, my librarian at school, Mrs. Hooper, she said, maybe you'd like to stop Googling Savage Garden and Google some stuff around ichthyosis. And I did, and I found people with ichthyosis.
How old were you?
15. You
obviously knew the name of the condition that you had.
Yeah, they never hid it for me. Some parents don't tell their children that they have disability or what their diagnosis is called.
Explain to me how that's even possible.
I just think that they're in denial. I mean, they're probably in the people that call special needs camp, Maybe it's the shame, it's the guilt, it's the grief, as I've written about. But my parents never hid it. Like I don't know how old I was when I started. It's always been very factual. I was born like this. It'll never go away. It's fine. It's not contagious. And that's how I was taught to communicate it, and that's how I was taught to talk about myself. So I always knew the name, knew how to spell it. So I Googled it, and I found some people, and they were like Big Carly,
So who did you find?
I found a woman called Laura in America and some other people who were on the internet and in a chat room, and they all had ichthyosis and they worked. They had partners, they had careers.
So they gave you that idea of you can't be what you can't see, or you can't feel good about it anyway, because you have to be what you can't see because you are just actually it.
Yeah.
But they gave you a sense of what your future might look like?
Yeah. I also met some people that probably weren't good role models for me because their take on their condition was very woe is me, very searching for a cure. So that was an eye-opener. And again, I think I wrote about it in the book that I probably wasn't very fair on them in my view because I had this internalised ableism, like, I'm not disabled, so how can you be?
Explain that to me. So explain ableism and what it means to internalise
So ableism is kind of the discrimination that disabled people face, like language and low expectations and physical barriers. Internalised ableism is when you feel so badly about disability, about your own disability. An example, yesterday I was catching a plane here and I tweeted that I am more confident now to to stand up when they say, if you need any special assistance in boarding, please come first. And I do that so I don't get bumped by other people's luggage and don't have to hurry so much and don't have to stand in queue. So that's been really good for me because I'm less sore. And I tweeted about that and I said, it's taken a lot of time to get to this point. And someone said, I don't think that's fair. And then they justified it by saying, I'm disabled too. And I said, well, clearly you might harbour some internalised ableism by telling yourself that we don't need these sorts of adjustments. Yeah.
Right.
So that's
it's about I'm not ashamed. I don't feel like I'm less than and not worthy of this reasonable adjustment that is being offered to me. And I'm going to claim it.
Yeah, that's right. And ableism is the shame that comes with having a disability, I guess, internalised ableism. So, I think that, I was probably unfair on these people that were very woe is me or because I had that internalised ableism. Oh, no, I can do everything. I'm not like them. I'm not like those other disabled people. I guess that's how I felt because I didn't identify it.
When did it occur to you, the bridge between you and the girl with cerebral palsy, or maybe not actually her specifically, but the idea of someone in a wheelchair, someone who is blind?
Yeah. I asked my dermatologist at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, who was also my dermatologist at the Royal Children, that's how long ago we've been doctor and patient for, if I could mentor some kids or do something, like teach. I don't know, do something. And that was in 2008. And he said, yes, I want you to sign up to the Chronic Illness Peer Support Program at the Children's Hospital, CHIPS. And I'm like, why didn't I know about this before? It was amazing. It was life-changing. So it's a program for young people with chronic illnesses to get together and support each other and do advocacy.
And what are some of the other conditions that people in that group have?
Yeah, so cerebral palsy, diabetes, cystic fibrosis, lots of different things. So I, started working with them and I did that for about 3 years and it was wonderful. It was really a really great experience. But the biggest thing that I got out of it, I feel like I got as much out of it as a mentor and a patient. And I realised that all of these young people had faced the barriers that I faced. So they had a lot of doctor's appointments. They had a lot of time at school. They possibly couldn't get a job or felt discriminated against in the workplace. They had more than one medical condition. Their medical condition was really rare, no one understood, all of that. And I'm like, wow, these people are just like me. It's okay to call myself chronically ill because I am. It's okay to call myself disabled because I am, because I'm facing this barrier. And I think Stella, in talking about disability in the social model, which is that you're more disabled by society than than your body, also was a big light bulb moment for me.
Can you explain that idea of the social model?
Yeah, sure. So the social model of disability means that you are more disabled by society. So barriers around getting into a building or, like getting around a building.
Are they also barriers of perception?
Yeah, attitude. Yeah, attitudinal barriers. And they're often the biggest ones. So it's stuff like, oh no, we've already had a disabled person in this workplace. It didn't work out, so. Or even, even just people not even thinking about a barrier. Like, you get to a building and I'll say, is there a lift? And, oh no, there's no lift, but there's stairs. And I'm like, well, would you ever think that you might have a disabled person in here? And I actually booked a restaurant for my birthday last month and I had a person in a wheelchair that was due to come and I checked 3 times with the restaurant. You are wheelchair accessible. I checked on the website. I checked on the email, and we got there and they weren't. And then they kind of laughed it off and said, oh yeah, we've never had anyone with a wheelchair come. And I said, well, of course, because no one can get in. She didn't end up coming, but yeah, it was really annoying.
I was going to also ask you about the title of your book, Say Hello.
Yeah. So Say Hello was conceived, I guess, by my agent, Jacinta Demaze. And it was because I was writing about how when people without disability, non-disabled people, meet people with disability, facial differences, skin conditions, they kind of forget all niceties. They forget how to be a person or a good person. And so often when I meet someone, before even saying hello, they will launch into, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Oh my God, you've been sunburnt. Oh, I couldn't handle looking like you. What happened to you? Have you had microdermabrasion? All these sorts of things. What does microdermabrasion look like, by the way? Because it looks like my face, apparently. Could I be an ambassador for it?
I guess any sort of peeling treatment or anything that would make your skin red and inflamed.
Yeah, well, apparently, I get it a lot. I have my own microdermabrasion every day, and I still look like I do when I was 17. So, anyway, so all of those kinds of niceties are forgotten. They launch into these personal questions. And so for me, and I'm not speaking for all disabled people, but for me, I would rather someone say hello. I would rather someone humanise me with that greeting than launch into these personal questions. And look, if they do ask, which I don't want them to, I would prefer if they prefaced it with a hello.
You write about the emotional labour of having to educate everybody all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel, I know you've written this book, but I feel also bad asking you to explain things, because part of what you're saying is, I'm tired.
I'm tired.
Disabled people are tired of having to be the one that educates the little kiddie who comes over on the train because mum says, go and ask.
Oh, yeah, because there's an expectation.
Does that really happen?
Yes.
I mean, obviously it does, because you wrote about it.
I think, when I talk about this stuff on Facebook, people will say, oh, I always encourage my kids just to go up and ask. And I'm like, but you don't know how tiring that is, because for you, this is the first time you've seen someone like me. For me, it's the 6th time today someone has asked.
You must have a standard answer by now. I know you do.
I have that card that I haven't had to hand it out yet, but I have a card that says that.
What does it say?
That for you, it's the first time you've seen me, and for me,
You actually got a card made?
Yeah, I did. I haven't handed it out yet. I wanted to, but I've got into too many arguments with people, and it's got my website address on it, and I just, But yeah, I'd like to. One day I will. I'll let you know how it goes.
You talk about the universal sign for people waving their hand in front of their face.
I don't know what to say about your face.
It's hard to convey this on the podcast, but it's kind of like,
what happened? Yeah, what happened? I do a lot of speaking, and I was waiting to go into a talk one day, and a woman came up to me and she just waved her arm around her face, and she said, I need to ask you something about your face. And here we go. And she asked me about microdermabrasion, actually, and she really needed to know. I said, I'm at work now. I don't want to talk about it. And then she said, no, but I just want to have microdermabrasion. And I said, look, this lovely lady over here doesn't have to talk about her appearance, so why do I have to talk to you about mine?
There's that sense reading your book that people feel that they have the right to know things about you.
Whether it's, I was only asking.
Yeah, whether it's very personal things or private things or just things that they're just curious about.
Yeah. I remember being overseas once and I was going to a Broadway show. And I was handing over money for a drink. Americans have such trouble with Australian accents. So handing over money for a drink, like mid-transaction, that person couldn't understand me. And then from the left, another woman comes in and says, hey, so have you had, I'm going to get out again, microdermabrasion?
Oh, man.
Is there a sponsor for me? Cosmetic sponsor. Anyway, so she said, have you had microdermabrasion? I said, what? And I think this was where the idea of the saying hello kind of came. This was, a few years ago, 2012 or 14, I think. And so I said to her, that's very rude to just launch into a personal question to a stranger. And she couldn't understand my accent either. And I said, can you, you don't say hello before you ask me about my face? And then she sort of said, well, you ought to be grateful if someone's talking to you, as if I'm not deserving of that. And my friend had just travelled 4 hours. My friend from the internet had just travelled 4 hours to come and meet me. I said, well, this girl here has travelled from Maryland. So people are talking to me. And it was so weird because she didn't understand my accent and she was so entitled to know about my face.
That idea of projecting onto you that you should be grateful, that you should be kind, that you should be just so gracious and inspirational.
Oh, yeah.
Stella used to talk about this a lot, and she used to love shocking people just being human.
Yeah. There's an expectation that we have to be nice, that we have to just take it.
That somehow not entitled to the full spectrum of human emotions or human, reactions.
Yeah, that's hard. And that you have that you should always be educative, or you can't just tell someone to f*** off. And I have, and I'm not ashamed of that. But also, there's the expectation to play it really cool in the media as well. That to be grateful for media opportunities. And as a woman, and also as a disabled woman, we're not given many. We're not given the chance to speak. And so, for me, I find that it's hard. And I had a really difficult interview earlier last year on the ABC, and I felt like I just had to be the better person. Yeah.
I was going to ask you how, without wanting to probe into that situation, after that interview happened, you talked about feeling very buoyed by the response.
Yeah, absolutely.
In many ways. Can you explain that?
Yeah. You said before about how it's our duty to educate, and I went to work after that interview and I talked about it and had a bit of a debrief, and my colleagues were like, no, that didn't happen. I'm like, yeah, it did. And after work I checked my Twitter and it was, it had gone off. Everyone was talking about it, and a friend was live tweeting as she was hearing it, and so many people were tweeting about it. And then I blogged it and I uploaded the audio, and that night I was the trending topic on Twitter and then all in the news the next day. And I reckon I didn't read much of the social media commentary. That saved me as well, not reading the comments. But on Twitter, I reckon I only received one really high profile, like, shut up kind of thing. Everyone else was just so amazing. They got it. They got what ableism was. Often when there's a racial slur that happens in football, and, if someone's called the N-word or someone's called a homophobic slur, there's outrage. When there's an ableist slur, when the R word is used or the M word, there's silence. I wrote a piece on it a few years ago, how footballers just laughed it off. Oh, it's just like, just a turn of phrase. And, if they're not disabled, it doesn't matter. So often when ableist stuff happens, it's justified because we are not seen as human. And so when this interview happened, people saw, I was talking about microaggressions, people saw the microaggressions in real time or heard them in real time. And so the reaction was like, wow, we understand, because it was so demonstrative of microaggressions. And so many people had something to say about it. It was incredible.
And so you felt very supported.
I did. Really, really supportive. It was amazing.
There's a big gap between you in the library, Googling ichthyosis,
and me now nearly being in the library.
Being exactly in a library with your book.
Yeah.
How did you become high profile, influential, a spokesperson, a role model, one of Australia's most influential women? And that's not subjective. That's objective.
A statement.
That's a statement. You were named by the Financial Review as one of Australia's most influential women. Mm-hmm. That seems like a big bridge to cross. How did you do it?
Yeah, wow. So I got out of the small town. I got out of the small town 16 years ago. I moved to Melbourne. I studied at university in Wodonga. I did a really dreary business degree, and I really wanted to do journalism always. Just wanted to do that. I used to apply for not cadetships, work experience at Cosmo and that, but I had work experience at Border Mail in Albury. Not quite. Anyway.
If I'd have been there, I would have loved to have you do work experience.
Thank
probably
you.
After my time.
No, before.
Before my time.
I'm much older than I look, Mia.
How old are you, Carly?
37. It's not a scandal, but yeah, still look like I'm 17. I've said that twice, haven't I?
Except I've known you for at least 10 years, so you can't be 17.
You know that.
I've done the math.
Anyway, so I just, I did this dreary degree, moved to a public service job, and I'm like, this isn't for me. But it was expected, and I needed a job. I needed to work in a sensible workplace that allowed me enough sick leave as well. So that was great. I don't regret that, but I did that for 15 years. But in doing that job, aside from that job outside, I did a side hustle. I went to university, back to university. I did Masters of Communication, developed a blog for my portfolio, and I blogged and I wrote for this website called Divine when I was in, I think it's 2009 or 10 I started, and then I wrote that article around body image, and I emailed you and I said, can I interview you? And you said no, but you'd put me in contact with someone from the Butterfly Foundation, and I sent you the final article.
That was kind of me. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, but I sent Lana the finished product, and then you or Lana said, can we have you on Mamma Mia? And that's kind of how my freelancing career took off, because that was the first mainstream publication in 2010 that I was published on. And then I started writing for Daily Life and SBS and ABC, and did a lot of speaking, a lot of radio, and a little bit of TV. I did You Can't Ask That, which was great. Tara Moss is speaking out. And just through showing up on my blog every day for about 5 years, maybe 6. I don't write on it much anymore. I don't have time. That's how I did it. Just showing up every day on social media.
And having things to say.
Having things to say, and also things happening to me. Like, ableism's really good content.
Everything's content, according to Nora Ephron.
But, it is. And I think having the experiences, being able to write about it, being able to articulate it, but also not like having the experience in like events through government work, PR through government work, like that sort of stuff, it helped.
The internet can be both the best and worst thing for a writer or anyone with any kind of diversity or difference.
Yep.
When you first went online, did it feel very freeing to be able to, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but not feel judged?
Yeah.
That wasn't the first impression someone had of you.
Yeah.
It was your physical appearance.
Yeah. I chose not to show my photo online for so many years. And I wrote about this, I met that catfish on the internet in 99.
Was it a big decision to put your image online for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. I was worried what people would do. I was worried that they'd ridicule me. I didn't do it until MySpace. So I've been using the internet for nearly, over 10 years.
And how did it go?
Fine. Fine. Until Reddit. Yeah. Oh, no, there was another website before that. But, yeah, until Reddit, really. It was fine.
So you woke up one day and you were getting...
Lots of hits to my blog.
Yeah.
I've been blogging for a while then, I've been blogging for a long time anyway, but on that blog I've been blogging for a while.
And you were like, happy days.
Yeah.
Lots
amazing.
of hits. Where's this
hits.
traffic coming from?
No, but yeah, because I hadn't blogged for a while because I just met my boyfriend, now husband, and I looked and I'm like, oh shit, it's Reddit. And, I knew what Reddit was. Yeah, I used to use it to promote my blog, to share things that I'd written.
And why were you suddenly getting this surge in traffic?
Because someone had put my photo on the What the Fuck forum. And they did. And it was me holding a glass of champagne. And that happened. So, I'm such a fangirl. It happened at the Rush premiere, and I just met Callan Mulvey and Sam Johnson, and it was amazing. And I was really happy. So it wasn't like a wallowing photo of me. It wasn't kind of one of the photos the Daily Mail would trawl through and find, It was a happy photo. And all these comments below, like, oh my God, she's been sunburnt. What does her vagina look like? She looks like a lobster. She looks like something my dog threw up. It was like horrendous. And I wrote a Facebook status about it. And then I used that Facebook status to make a post about it on Reddit, and that changed it.
How did it change it?
People saw that I was human.
What did you say?
I just said that, yeah, this is me, this is Ichthyosis. You were making fun of a stranger on the internet. I was seeing a band and, yeah, having fun.
Living my life. Who's the sad one?
Yeah, exactly. So then that was weird. That made like international news, yeah.
How did that feel?
Oh, overwhelming. It was I had this new job in the government, and when you work for the government, you have to tell the media unit when you're in the media. And I was kind of just writing for the media myself, and so I'd tell them, and then that day they emailed me, Carly, you're the top story on news.com.au. And anyway, so that was weird, and then I think Mamma Mia emailed me for an interview, and heaps of people, the Daily Mail, and all the media that I don't like to engage with as well, the real tabloid media, and that was really hard because I tried not to do that because it just perpetuates the way we're portrayed. And then that night I was going home to Albury because it's Christmas, and Charlie Pickering had mentioned me on the project, which was really lovely. It was positive, but it happened a couple of times on Reddit, and because, then it was an old story, no one really cared, but the threats were worse the second and third times. It was really weird and really overwhelming. Like, my mum was so excited that, I was a international media superstar or whatever she called it, but it's really hard. It's really overwhelming. And I got some negative comments on my blog, but the worst one was, all Carly does is go on about Darren Hayes. And that was worse than the Reddit comments because that really hit me.
I bet that was secretly written by the other guy who was in Savage Garden.
I think it was by someone that knew me. But also that this was really hard because I try to keep myself very private on social media. Asking people if I can post about them, not posting where I am at the time or whatever. Not posting about where I work, although now I do. And people would say, oh, I work with her, or I work in her building, or I see her around. And that was really weird because they'd give away my privacy.
Well, you become a bit of a rock star.
It was strange. And even now, like, you know, photos like that, the articles resurface.
In your book, you write, people can also be really curious, which is often assumed to be well-intentioned, but can be tiring and sometimes offensive. Curiosity is often mistaken for kindness.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean by that? Because I thought that was something I've heard other disabled people talk about.
Yeah, like people ask me if I've been sunburned or if I'm too hot, and they'll say, I wanted to know, like, do you need anything? But they'll use that as a guise to satisfy their curiosity. And or people will justify it, like if I'm, I don't know. I think curiosity is seen as a right, and it's seen as a way to educate children, and an expectation that we will always satisfy someone's curiosity. You know, and I think curiosity in prayers is seen as kindness when they're really annoying. That idea of prayers, I'll pray for you.
How do you react to that?
I'll say, please don't. I sometimes just say thank you. Sometimes you just can't be bothered, you know.
Having a long conversation.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, you write a chapter about skin hunger. Can you explain what skin hunger is?
Yeah, skin hunger is when you're not, like, you know, you're hungry for touch, that you go so long without. And I just felt so lonely for so long without a partner. Just that I really yearned for that. And I was only touched in a medical way. You know, even, you know, of course my mum would hug me, but there's a lot of medical application as well in that touch, because she'd put my creams on and, and then people wouldn't want to hug me because they'd be scared that they'd hurt me, or they didn't want to get dirty. They didn't want to get contagious disease. It isn't contagious, but yeah, so there's that.
You write about at Stella Young's memorial and being on the stairs and hugging her sister.
Yeah.
And you say how that moment made you stop apologising.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think I was hugging her sister, and her sister's super stylish, super beautiful, and she had a pink coat on. And there's often things I don't wear because I know that I'm going to get them oily from my paraffin, and, you know.
So you put paraffin on your skin.
Yeah. To moisturise it. So I don't want to, you know, I don't want to get the thing oily because it'll look like I wet myself, or, you know, or stained or whatever. And so she had this bright pink jacket on, and I hugged her and I left a face print on her jacket, and I said, I'm sorry. And she's like, no, don't apologise. And I realised, well, Stella wouldn't have apologised. And I just stopped apologising. I'm not going to apologise for asking for a chair or leaving skin somewhere, or, you know, my phone being oily, or needing not to sit out with smokers, or needing not to sit out in the sun.
I've heard you say that around the time of your honeymoon and your wedding, your skin was really good. What's the difference between good skin for you and when it's less good? What does that feel like or look like?
It doesn't look different. So for when people see me every day, it's very hard to tell that I'm sore. I'm pretty sore today, but you probably couldn't tell because I'm happy and I don't know. But I get stiff in my movements, and I get really inflamed, not generally on my face. My face doesn't get sore very often. My legs get really inflamed. I often get staph, so MRSA, which is, you know, highly dangerous, like can be fatal. It often gets hot, really hot to the touch, but I feel cold because the body is expelling so much heat, because my body doesn't cool down. So you sweat and I don't sweat, and so I can't cool down in this heat. So often, if it's really, really hot, my body will be under distress and my heart will be racing, and I'll have to go and lie on the toilet floor just to cool down, to get my body to the right temperature, which is, you know, a bit embarrassing. I had to do that at a work meeting recently, and then my colleague had to fan me on the floor.
So extremes of temperatures, your body finds it really hard to regulate?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. And also, like, you know, peeling, shedding, and just really hard to walk, and, yeah.
You love clothes?
Love clothes.
Love clothes.
My wardrobe is so massive.
Fashion as identity for you.
Yeah.
Is that, what do you love about clothes?
Well, I love the feel. I love the, like, expression of, you know, being able to dress in what I want. I don't have to wear such a corporate uniform anymore either. So I just, not that I wore a uniform in the government, but, you know, you have to dress a bit more corporate. Now I just dress like a rainbow every day. And I also feel for so long I wouldn't wear things that had spaghetti straps back in the 90s because you had to wear skin, and I didn't realise that I could wear something underneath it and be more comfortable. I didn't want to stand out and be different more than I already was, and so I didn't want to show off too much skin because it'd be sore. It's not that I was ashamed. Well, then I was ashamed. Now I'm not. But I also don't want to show off too much skin because I'll be sore, I'll get bumps, I'll get burnt, all of that stuff. Now I realise I can just wear what I want. And I was saying before in another interview that I did that Facebook image thing from 2009 to now.
The 10-year challenge.
Yeah, the 10-year challenge. And I was wearing pretty cool clothes in 2009, 8, whenever it was. But now, like for my birthday, I wore this sequin top and I wear a lot of, sparkles. But I didn't want to then because I didn't want to stand out any more than I already was. And now I don't care. I just wear sequined everything. I bought those Peter Alexander sequin pajamas the other day.
Oh, I had my eye on those.
Yeah, I didn't want to buy them to wear as pajamas. I think I'm going to wear as a jacket.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's almost a waste if you don't.
Well, I wouldn't sleep in them because it'd be really itchy and really scratchy. But I love it. And actually, when I was in Hoi An last week, and we got so much stuff made at the tailor, and I went overboard. But I bought this sequin ball dress. I thought, when am I going to wear this? It's
to work, Carly.
I think I could wear it to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now that you're doing all these media
I could probably wear it to book kind of work. I'm not sure if I could wear it to Melbourne Fringe.
It's the Melbourne Fringe. You've got the best job in the world to wear whatever you want.
I could probably wear it to the opening. I don't want to save it for that long, though.
Carly, how can we as non-disabled people be better allies?
Follow disabled people on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.
Who should we follow besides you?
Michelle Roger is amazing. Michelle's a great fashionista. Jessica Walton, Kia Brown, who's an American writer, a black woman. Valissa Thompson, another black American woman. Emily Ladeau. We've got in Australia, we've got Brianna Bell. We've got Kurt Fernley, Dylan Alcott. I think Isis Holt is a young up-and-coming Paralympian. Robin Lambert, so many people. Alice Wong, she does amazing work around the Disability Visibility Project. Just know that we're there, know that we're not invisible. Ask us to be involved in things and don't think that we're an afterthought. Don't forget about us in your activism. When you're talking about diversity, remember disability. You can't be a good feminist if you're not including your disabled sisters. Sharing our work, also paying us for what, for our work as well. Because so much of the time, disabled people are seen as charitable objects. And we see disability charities to target heartstrings and to give a hand out, not a hand up. So when we're paid, and I'm talking from an immense position of privilege here because I am paid, but for so many people they're not paid and they're expected to deliver their time for free and also expected to give back for everything the medical profession has ever given them. And so it's really important that people are given money to create independent lives. I went to this amazing I went to an amazing art craft shop in Hoi An, and I didn't see many disabled people in Hoi An because it's not built for people to get around. But this place, it employed 70 disabled people. It has done since 2000, and many of those people are still there working. It pays them above minimum wage in Hoi An so that they can not only support themselves but support their family. Everyone that we spoke to were really happy to be working there, and that was incredible. And in Australia, there are still sheltered workshops. There are still places that pay people less than $2 an hour. The minimum wage in Australia is $18 an hour, yeah? So there's still that huge inequality, and that comes from that special needs, mantra. And so when we give people equal opportunities, when we employ people, when we pay them minimum wage and above, that's really important.
And speak up on behalf of our disabled sisters. Yeah. I really love what you say about the importance of following all these people on social media because it does give you an insight into a different perspective. Yeah.
And it shows firsthand because social media is so immediate. And it doesn't only show the bad things, it shows the good stuff. And it shows us without being inspirational. It shows just living lives. And, it's really, really important to do that and surround yourself with diversity rather than living in that bubble. Yeah.
Carly, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I've so enjoyed our chat.
Yeah,
I love
the book.
It was
good. Thank you.
My goodness, you are rocking an outfit on that cover. Let me tell you, I have absolute outfit FOMO.
I took 9 outfits for the photo shoot, and the photographer had said he'd never seen so many outfits from one person. But Dylan Alcott had his photo shoot the week before, and he only wore black.
I appreciate that you're wearing a different outfit on the front and the back of your book.
And the spine as well.
Because, of course, why wouldn't you? I'm totally there for that.
Yeah. And in the middle of the book as well, there's heaps of outfit photos.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you do, Carly, and keep doing it.
Thanks, Mia.
Thank you for listening to this No Filter. If you want to hear more from Carly, you can buy her book, Say Hello, at any good bookstore or at apple.co/Mamma Mia. And if you do see Carly out and about, say hello. You can also follow her on Instagram at Carly Findlay. No Filter is produced by Eliza Ratliff. I'm Mia Friedman, and I'll see you on mamamia.com.au.